Call the meeting in order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting held here in the Commissioner Meeting Room on Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, we have Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Burns, Vice Chair Britton, Commissioner Carswell, our County Finance Officer, our County Attorney, and our County Manager all in attendance, Madam Clerk. I would remind everyone to please silence all your mobile devices. And if you do come before the lectern, make sure the red light is on, so those listening in the audience and those on YouTube, so you can be heard. This time, I'll ask everyone to stand. I will ask Reverend Dr. Wayne A. Johnson Jr. from Shiloh AME Church to lead us in our invocation. Is he not here? All right. I will ask Commissioner Burns to lead us in our invocation, and then please remain standing while I ask our county attorney to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
God, we're just grateful to be here tonight, Lord, and we just pray that you bless our conscience, our decisions, and help guide us through what it is that you would have us to seek. And I thank you for all those in attendance. Most of all, we thank you for this season and the reason. And God, we just ask all of these things humbly in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gentlemen, our first item of business is item number 4, organization of the board for the election of chairman for 2024. This time, gentlemen, I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mr. Jeff Britton for the chair spot.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. Are there any other nominations from the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I move that nominations be closed.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move we accept Mr. Britton by acclamation.
All right, gentlemen. That means I'll bring it over to our new chairman, Commissioner Jeff Britton.
You need to take a vote on that, just a formality.
All right. Thank you, sir. All those in favor, signify with uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us about That brings us to item number 2, election of vice chair for 2024. And at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Scott Mulwee for vice chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. Any other nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I move that nominations be closed.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor of electing Scott Mulwee as vice chair, signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Mr. Vice Chair, any comments you'd like to make this time?
I've enjoyed being your chair, and I'll look forward to working with Jeff as his chairmanship. He's had vast experience and done a fantastic job, and I look forward to working with him as his vice chair. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 3, appointment of county attorney for 2024. I'll open the floor for nominations for the county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we nominate J.R. Simpson for county attorney.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any other nominations for county attorney?
Move the nominations be closed.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor of J.R. Simpson as county attorney, please indicate by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. J.R., any comments, sir?
I just thank the board for their ongoing trust, and I'll endeavor to keep doing the same job I've been doing.
Thank you. We appreciate what you do all the time. Brings us to item number 4, appointment of tax attorney for 2024. I'll open the floor for nominations for the county tax attorney.
I nominate Kanye Law Firm as county tax attorney for the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2024. The only compensation for county tax attorney will be those authorized by general statutes in relation to a foreclosure action. The county tax attorney will provide the board with a quarterly report of accounts turned over to him, her, or her, and the disposition of said cases at the end of each quarter.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other nominations for county tax attorney?
Mr. Chairman, I move the nominations close.
Thank you. All those in favor of the Kanye Law Firm as the county tax attorney for 2024, please signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. Thank you. Brings us to item number 5, appointment of clerk to the board for 2024. I'll open the floor for nominations for our clerk.
Mr. Chairman, I'm proud to nominate Ms. Kay Drone as clerk to the board, the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Any other nominations for clerk?
Mr. Chairman, I move the nominations be closed for the greatest clerk in the state of North Carolina.
I agree. Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. And I'll entertain a vote at this time. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. Any comments from you, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, this brings us to item number 5, approval of agenda. Gentlemen, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand, please. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. All right, item number 6, approval of meeting minutes. We have a number of meeting minutes tonight. We have May the 2nd, 2023 Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting, May 16, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting, June the 6th, 2023 Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting, and June the 20th, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve those meeting minutes for all 4 action items. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. This brings us to items for presentation tonight. We have several. First one tonight is from our Animal Services Pet of the Month. I'll recognize Caitlin Suttlemeyer at this time for Pet of the Month. Caitlin.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having us back for another month. I do want to present a few things, including our Pets of the Month. I did not bring Twix with us this evening. We have a big thing I'm going to talk to you a little bit about here in just a minute going on, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to be able to get adopted or find a family this evening, so I didn't want to take her from the shelter this evening. But Miss Twix is about 3 years old. She is a female, and she is super great. I do not know why this dog has not been adopted yet. She lays on her bed. She's very polite. We do feel like she is house trained. Loves children and does great with other dogs. So if you're looking to add a laid-back boxer mix to your life, I think she would be a good fit for your family. We never want to leave our kitty cats out. So our cat of the month is going to be Mr. Ozzy. Ozzy is 2 years old. We have a wonderful volunteer who takes these beautiful photos for us. So Mr. Ozzy is this photo just doesn't do him justice, though. He has the biggest cheeks I think I've ever seen on any cat. So he's absolutely wonderful. He did leave to a foster home this evening, so we're really excited to see if he's able to find his forever family soon. But if you think you would be interested in Ozzy, please come down and talk to us a little bit more about him. He's super sweet and affectionate, just wants to give you constant head rubs. So if you want a cat that's going to be in your face and in your lap, this is your guy. Moving on, I wanted to let you guys know, if you guys have not heard already, we do have a large intake of animals that is going to be coming to us tomorrow. We took in the most critical last Thursday. There were 18 of them that came in. We have asked our community to step up and help us, and they have once again exceeded our expectations. When I left the shelter, we had 6 cats and 8 dogs that we still needed to find placement for. So we're still not quite out of the woods as far as bringing in these 90 animals, but our community has stepped up for our animals that we currently had in our care. We will be taking this. We have emergency sheltering equipment in place at the shelter, and then we also have a secondary location set up if we need to overflow out to that secondary location. And we are also working to expedite these animals through our system very quickly. So we're bringing in our area rescues and out-of-state rescues to be able to pull these animals through our system and get them out as quickly as possible. So it's going to be a very busy and exciting day for us, but we really just want to thank our community, other departments within Burke County that really stepped up and went above and beyond. We had several people. Dina Gates from Parks and Rec came down today because we thought she'd be really helpful in helping us maximize our space usage that we there. We know we're pretty strict on space there, so she was a big help to us today. Mike Willis, don't think we could have done any of this without Mike Willis. Code enforcement has really stepped up to help us in any way that we need to, and I know there have been numerous others. So I'm just really happy and proud of the place that we work whenever we can all come together and make things happen like this, not only for these animals, but for this family that very desperately needs us right now. So. As always, we do have a few events taking place. Our Santa Claus for Things with Paws. If you guys haven't been to Animal Services this week, I would encourage you to come down. You should see our lobby. It looks like we've had visits from about 17 different Santas. It is full of gifts for our animals and just supplies for our shelter, so that's been really great to see. And this week we are running our 5th annual Home for the Holidays event. So this is we encourage folks to come in, take our animals for the Christmas break so they get to spend Christmas in a home. And then you can bring them back the following week or just keep them at your home. We're not going to judge anyone for failing at fostering. It's the best thing to fail at. So if you'd like to participate in that, I think several families have made it a family tradition, so that's really great to see. As always, best ways to reach us by phone, email, or pop in person. Come and see what we've got going on. We'd be happy to welcome any new faces to Animal Services.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate all the good work. Appreciate all the teamwork this week and taking care of all these animals. Any questions, comments for Caitlin?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Since our last meeting, when we put Caitlin on the job to find my dog is home. He came back weighing a lot less than what he did when he left the home, and he did have an injured back leg, but Caitlin was texting me while I was in the meeting, said, "We found your dog, we found it." So thank you.
Absolutely. We're happy he's home.
All right, welcome home, Jasper. Thank you. All right, thank you, Caitlin. And again, a reminder to spay and neuter your pets and come by and take a look at what's happening at Animal Services. Thank you. All right, item number 2, economic development update. That'll be presented tonight by Alan Wood. Good evening, Alan.
It's a pleasure to be here with you again. I'll start by saying that the new tier status came out earlier, and it's been about 2 weeks ago, I guess, and we moved from tier 1 to tier 2. There were some pretty significant areas that created that. Average salary increased year over year significantly, moved us up about 15 places, and our population growth, which had been lagging, moved us up from the lower 40 counties into about the number 60 position. So the population growth is very welcome. We've had many discussions about that. We need more, but it is a move in the positive direction. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, as in your tier status does have some impact on your grant opportunities, but overall you always want to see improvement in the economics of your county. So we were happy for that. We will also want to report that Project Fern was approved for a building reuse grant. That is Chaddock Furniture. We've worked off and on with these guys for the last 4 or 5 years trying to help them get this project in place. It's a little bit of, can we do it, can we not do it, what do we want to do? And then they finally pulled the trigger. The city of Morganton was the applicant. Burke County added half of the local match on this, which is $5,000 for the $200,000 grant. They are going to plan to create a minimum of 25 new jobs over the course of the next 18 months, and all of them will pay above the county average wage. That's one of our requirements as we move to process any grant request that's getting incentives in Burke County. Just sort of give you a little heads up on what, it's been a little quieter this year than maybe normal. That goes to the fact that we really don't have any buildings left. Anything of size has been backfilled. Buildings that I never thought would have tenants are full. We had 2 project announcements totaling about $26.3 million and 125 jobs. Since 2012, we have had 13 project announcements, 847 jobs, and 212 million, give or take, dollars in capital investment. So even during times when we've had some interesting things happen, we continue to see growth in Burke County, and seeing the wages increase really helps with that process. We'll say that they poured about 1,100 yards of concrete over the last week or so at the business park. I expect to see construction take off after the first of the year now, and after what was a momentary pause, we'll say that Unix, we have closed out their building reuse grant, and we just got notification that we can close out their 1NC grant from their original project. They have hired, on average over the last 90 days, it shows about 206 employees. They're currently working there. So we're looking to get that new building. We anticipate completion sometime now, Q1 2025. And so that's really what we anticipate on that. So we'll stay in touch with them, we'll stay in touch with the construction company, and they have made significant, they are now among the top 10 taxpayers and top 10 industrial employers in the county. So we continue to work on our Opportunity Youth internship program. We had a planning meeting on that yesterday. The kickoff is March the 7th. We're adding 10 new slots for the construction trades. We're looking for sponsors on those, and then we'll place them with construction companies. So there's a 70-hour certification that they will receive first. It's a nationally recognized certification. The acronym escapes me at the moment, and I didn't write it down, but they'll go through that classroom participation, and then we will be placing them with companies to complete that 8-week internship program. We're looking to have 40 slots this year, which is almost double what we finished with last year. And we do have, we counted them yesterday, and we have about 42 slots already lined up with local business and industry. So if we can exceed that, we'll be very, very happy. Why is that so important? Because we still have a very significant number in our population of 18 to 24-year-olds who are not employed or not in school. If we can get them started earlier, get them engaged in the labor force, get them involved in thinking about what their life after high school looks like, we have much more success in getting them engaged for the future. So this is sort of a preemptive strike, for lack of a better term. I will say that we received a $50,000 Golden Leaf grant that we will use to do the geotechnical on the 570-acre largest pad at the business, at the mega site. We're waiting to hear from North Carolina Railroad for some additional money for due diligence there. We have a lot of interest. I was at an event last week and one last Thursday night, and there is much interest on development of that site. And they're very significant projects in their size, but they're all projects that we would be proud to have in Burke County. Drexel Park, we still think grading will begin on that probably sometime Q2 of 2024. Had a meeting with the engineering firm on that last Thursday, talking about the different process. There's one thing that we are trying to figure out, it's a little bit funny, is just about every time you do an endangered species study now, the tricolored bat comes up. So We are, whether it's been timbered or not, you have to go back and prove that there are no bats on this site, and we're pretty positive that that's not the case, because this is not the kind of habitat that bats will visit. They generally like culverts and dark places, and neither of those really exist on this site. So we're just working through the process, and we do think that we'll put it out for bid for grading probably February, March, and we would like to see that start happening. It'll be a short term on the turnaround, probably grading that April or May. Great report on the amount of rock there. Looking to grade it at an elevation of 1,200 feet, and there's one area, maybe less than 5 acres, that there's any rock that would have to be blasted, and that would be minimal. The rest of it is rock that can be moved with normal equipment. So that's, if you've ever seen property graded as something that size, here not hitting rock is pretty remarkable. So we think that's going to be a very valuable location, taking something that has been blighted, working through the process, having it environmentally clean, and being put back into productive use as an industrial site in Burke County. So we're very happy to see that moving forward. And then I'm sure you're going to get more information on this probably after the first of the year when you have your planning retreat, and that's considering a speculative building. We did get a report from Crystal Morphus and Creative Design. A couple of the things and I touched on that briefly, there's not a industrial building 50,000 square feet or larger within a 40-mile radius of here right now. We can't find that there's really anything being planned from Iredell County to probably Asheville. There could be a couple around Hendersonville, but those are not guaranteed. So there aren't a lot of sites either. So something in the 75,000 to 100,000 square foot range seems to be indicated. And at that time when the study was done, we had 17 requests in less than 120 days that we could not respond to for the lack of a building. And those sizes, mainly that 50 to 150,000 square foot range, are what those cover. So it's an opportunity, and just looking at how that process would play out is what we want to take a good look at. So that gives you just a few highlights of what's going on this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan?
Mr. Chairman, Alan, in regards to the large site in Western Burke, referred to the mega site, getting a lot of public interest and comments on that. And so what does that look like moving forward? Is taking public comment and answering any questions that citizens may have in the first quarter of next year, because I think we need to do a better job of communicating what that site will look like, whether it's water quality, how much of the site's going to be developed, what kind of buffers we're looking at, traffic counts, those type of things, which I know will be addressed, but a lot of folks don't know that, and we need to explain to them the information that's out there and what our plan is. So we are going to have public forums so we can take any input from the citizens and meet with these folks.
Well, and I would like to say that through the process, we're going through this step by step, and we'll be very intentional about it. We've already talked with planning. We've had Foothills Conservancy at the table. We've met with folks from Lake James Environmental. We've had a phase one done to know that it's environmentally clean. There are buffers that we have to watch. There's a wetland study done. Corps of Engineers comes in. Anything that's a designated wetland, we either have to mitigate or the Corps, or you don't touch it. So all of these things are happening. We've already been in touch with DOT about traffic counts and what the best way would be once a site is designed. We know that there are certain portions of this that are not going to be developable. But I will say that there's a little bit, there's already 410 acres of this site that has been zoned industrial for better than 20 years. I can't find exactly when that was rezoned. And there's another 110 acres that's already zoned general business. So roughly half the site is either industrial or general business right now. And there is an additional 66 acres of this land that did belong to the same family that has been industrial for better than 20 years. So it's not out of reason to look at this as a piece of industrial property with its road access, with its rail access. But suffice it to say that we are being very, very intentional as we go through this process. We set aside 94 acres that we're not asking to be rezoned because when we looked at it, we said, you know, there's too much wetlands. It's not in a good place. There's not any reason to even consider rezoning that as industrial. And we would probably, you know, there are several things that we can do. There's a 4-acre slice that's on the other side of the road. I've already talked to the family that lives there adjacent to them. They said, we've been trying to buy that 4 acres for years. I said, you know, when we finish the process, let's have a discussion. Those are the kind of steps that we're taking as we go through this process.
Thank you, Alan. And, you know, one last question on that, because we're getting asked, you know, obviously we have no idea what type of business or industry would go in there at this point. But just for clarity, we do remain in control of what does go on that site.
Yes, I mean, once we have control of it, we go through our board, we have discussions. Anything that comes in has to be approved by the planning board plans, you know, their design plans, and it comes through the Board of Commissioners because they're in charge of any incentives that might go through. So this is not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that happens in the dark. It's very
and we understand
straightforward
that.
process.
And we as commissioners understand that, but I think we need to do a better job of communicating that. And we will be taking public input, correct, our county manager?
Yes, sir. I think BDI, working with the property owners, economic development is obviously an extension of local government. So we're, you know, an indirect partner, but heavily focused on making sure that all concerns are heard and considered. Likely there's things we haven't thought of, but there's also very likely facts that haven't been effectively communicated. I've had a couple conversations over the last few days with folks who are heavily interested in the project, and the net developable acreage, as Alan said, is far less than the total acreage. It's actually a very small percentage of it. Most of that aligns well with the I-40 corridor, which moves away from the lake. All of that stream pattern flows into Muddy Creek, which goes away from the lake. And as he said, with the due diligence of geotech and endangered species and water quality and traffic counts and all the things that have to be done, I feel confident that most questions can be answered in a satisfactory way. And if there's questions that we can't answer yet, we need to find those answers. And you know, that I think will help facilitate some hopefully some small community meetings. We're certainly open to that if there's folks in the community who want to host or want to have some of those conversations. I think that's healthy, and we're, you know, I know Alan and BDI, certainly the county, would be committed to that, and demonstrating, you know, what parts of the property may be developable and what that buffer may look like. Even if you look at some of the bigger sites that were developed in the Triad in the eastern part, a 500-acre parcel, which is the largest parcel there, you know, more than 100 acres of that being developed is enormous, which leaves a tremendous amount of buffer and doesn't require, I think, the impact that may be anticipated. So all those things need to be, I think, shared and demonstrated. You know, there's other restrictions and you know, ways that you can make sure that development happens in the right way, at the right pace, in the right spot. And everybody deserves an opportunity to share in that. So We have a couple meetings already lined up with a couple HOAs, as well as a church meeting room. But if there's other opportunities, we certainly welcome that and want to share as much as we possibly can. So we would invite those opportunities.
Will say we've also already been talking with Duke Energy about water flow through there, how much available water there is, excess capacity. Anything that we do doesn't come near touching what the excess capacity is that they've projected through 2115. So all of these things come into play as you're looking at it. But I will say also that such a development done properly becomes something that's a capstone for an economy for a generation. And those are the potential things, and that's why you want to do it right, because you only get one shot at this.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments for Alan? All right, thank you, Alan. I too want to commend your efforts, particularly on the internship program. I think that's been a wonderful success, and it sounds like already lining up for good success in the coming year. And I think that's a great way to get our young folks engaged in the work environment. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Move to accept Alan's report as presented.
All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, it's 5-0. Brings us to item number 3, Forest Service update. That'll be presented by Nick Larson with the Forest Service. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me. I just wanted to give a quick state of affairs for the National Forest. I apologize for not being around in the past year or so, but nothing super pressing, but just a good opportunity to reconnect and remind you guys who I am and where we are and a good contact for things. So I've got a bullet list of a couple of projects and programs that we've been working on in the Pisgah National Forest. The first one that we've got here is some work around the trail system in the Linville Gorge Wilderness area. So over the past couple of years, we have added about 2.7 miles of trail to that system. While that doesn't sound like a very large number, the miles that includes are really important because they help connect and make a loop for people to be able to go on extended backpacking trips. And they also pull the pressure off of the historic route, which was taking people across private properties. So now our hikers and our backpackers and our campers can spend their time on public lands, actually on public lands, and keeping that good. It also creates some formal rock climbing access out in the Short Off area, so we're super excited about that. It's really important. The work that is scheduled to be start work in the fall, the next 2 miles, is going to be really critical to keep hikers out of some critical habitats for some rare plants that we have in Linville Gorge. There's a couple of plants, Hudsonia montana, that only occurs in 2 places, one being Linville Gorge and the other over in McDowell County. So we've got some really unique habitats out there. This next round of trail additions that we'll see out there in Linville Gorge is about another 2 miles or so, and that's really going to be targeted on some targeted climbing access on the south end of Short Off, kind of heading in the amphitheater area. We're really excited about that because, as I'm sure you guys realize, Linville Gorge is essentially a national draw for rock climbing in the area, and we have a huge amount of folks climbing and accessing the forest out there, but they're not on trails that we can maintain and keep them up to speed. So with the large numbers of folks that we've got, we're at a point now where we need to have formal trails and give them the access that they need. So we're really excited about that. The work that we're doing out there, we would not be able to do without many of the partners that we have operating in Linville Gorge, whether it's Wild South helping us with our trail systems, or whether it's the county helping with emergency management and emergency responses. As you guys know very well, we have hordes and hordes of people coming out there, and sometimes they're not as prepared as we would like. But we appreciate that support. One of the other big projects that we've got going is the Pisgah Restoration Initiative, Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Program. That is a mouthful. So we tend to shorten that as PRI. So the PRI is a Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Project, which is a national program that identifies opportunities for the federal government to work with its state and NGO partners across a large landscape. And the real goal here is to demonstrate that through collaboration with our partners and working at a larger landscape, that we can have more meaningful and more effective conservation benefits delivered at scale. So our program on the Pisgah Restoration Initiative is across the entire Pisgah National Forest, so that's all the way up on the Appalachian District around Mars Hill and all the way down into the Pisgah National Forest around Forest City and all those areas. So the main themes there is that we are, with this project, we are reducing wildfire risk to our communities, like many of our communities here in Burke County. We're restoring fire-adapted forest. For those of y'all that have been born and bred here in Burke County, you may remember, like, before the 1990s, when we had quite a bit of southern yellow pine throughout our forest. We had a major beetle epidemic. We've had a lot of things that have inhibited that pine, so we're working real hard to be able to restore those fire-adapted forests. We're treating non-native invasive plants and insects with hemlock woolly adelgid and emerald ash borer, and then we're improving water quality. Fiscal year 2023 was our first year of operation of that. It's a 10-year program, so we have 10 years of federal support to work with our partners across these boundaries. So with that initiative as a whole across the Pisgah National Forest, we're targeting to be able to burn, prescribe burning on 10,000 acres a year, which is quite, not necessarily more than what we have been doing historically here on the Grandfather. We had a similar program that ended in 2022. So our prescribed burning will still continue at the rates that it is. We're hoping to be able to stand up some of our private lands and state partners to increase. But the larger numbers of that are going to be housed on the Pisgah Ranger Districts and on the Appalachian Ranger Districts. So we're trying to spread that wealth. We're trying to demonstrate through the good practices that we've developed on the Grandfather Ranger District and helping out our neighbors. That's also including about 500 acres of vegetation management each year, another 1,500 acres of thinning and stand improvement to improve the forest health and vigor of these fire-adapted forests that we're hoping to improve. 12,000 acres of non-native invasive treatments, which is a lofty goal, and we're on cue to be able to meet those objectives. And three aquatic organism passages, or 3 stream crossings improved each year. For any of y'all that are anglers or fishermen, you know that one of a trout's worst enemies is a undersized culvert and a pipe that is just too small for not only the trout to get up and down, but all the things that the trout eats and takes care of. I can also say that through some of our heavy weather and heavy storms that we've seen over the past several years, a lot of this habitat restoration work pays dividends in deferred maintenance. So as we increase the size of these culverts, the size of these crossings, and naturalize them, the resilience to the floods that we oftentimes get in our counties is just, it's amazing to me. It's honestly really quite surprising how well everything pans out and works. So we're awful proud of that work. So as I kind of alluded to, there's a really large emphasis on working with partners. So some of the key partners that we're working here across Western North Carolina on this are the, obviously the North Carolina Forest Service is a huge partner in it, the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, Trout Unlimited, Nature Conservancy, North Carolina State Parks is one of our big participants around Lake James here. And then we've also got a suite of grassroots organizations, Wild South, Foothills Conservancy, Carolina Land and Lakes, and our neighboring Land and Lakes organizations, or our neighboring RC&D organizations that are helping there as well. And many of our trail organizations like the Northwestern North Carolina Mountain Bike Alliance and those likes. So we're really excited about that. 10 years is a very large commitment for the U.S. Forest Service to be able to invest in conservation, and we're excited to continue to demonstrate success with that project. The next one that I wanted to update y'all on is the Wilson Creek Corridor Study, and I fully understand Wilson Creek is just outside of Burke County, but many of your residents and many of your businesses are well tied into the actions there. So this winter, Carolina Land and Lakes has stood up a corridor study that'll help us to be able to develop a plan that can kind of update our infrastructure that we have out there. Any of y'all that have been out to Wilson Creek realize that it's an absolutely outstanding resource. It's a beautiful river. The infrastructure that we have as far as bathroom, parking areas, and things like that really facilitate small groups, individual anglers to be able to get out there. This is a wonderful time to get out there, but what it does not reflect real well is the large numbers and the larger groups that we get in the heat of the summer. So we want to make sure that the forest is open and available to all those folks that are getting out there and enjoying the resource. And to do that, we got to find a place to put more cars. We got to find a place to put more picnic tables and things to be able to facilitate larger groups than what we've historically had out there. So we're excited about that. Later on, likely in January or February, I'll reach out to one of y'all or to the county manager to see which contacts in Burke County might be interested in some of the initial sensing on that to find out which direction we went ahead in that. But we're super excited about that. I did also want to mention that we're working closely with Ed Phillips and the tourism department to try to find the matching funds to be able to repave Brown Mountain. I'm sorry to say we still are in a continuing resolution, so I don't have a full picture of what our budget is to be able to commit to that right now. But obviously that's something that we're very interested in and happy to find a way to support and get that accomplished. Another bragging point that I want to throw in here real quick is we're out of our wildfire season for the most part. So we're very thankful to have the rain. My 9-year-old daughter was really excited to see a couple of snowflakes the other day. So we're excited about that. But I did want to note that this fall was incredibly dry. We did not have a whole lot of wildfires in Burke County itself. And I want to thank the county and the support of the North Carolina Forest Service in that. The North Carolina Forest Service did respond to quite a few fires all across western North Carolina. As you guys know, we were in drought conditions. The U.S. Forest Service, across the state, we housed an additional 400 firefighters here in the dry season that we had this year. So the role that we played in that is while many of the fires were not necessarily on federal lands, we were able to help out our neighbors when things got hot and things got dry and fires were running and gunning. We were able to surge our resources to make sure those fires stayed small and they didn't put the communities at risk that they could have. So can't say enough good things about Jason Noble and the support that all of you guys and Burke County Emergency Management too. All of those organizations working hand in hand to make sure that we're in good shape. But we're looking good as far as fires go right now. And with that, that's the punch list of projects that I wanted to brief you all on. I'm more than happy to take any questions, and I do want to encourage you, if you have any questions about things that are happening on the National Forest, Johnny and Scott, you know this, just give me a shout. I'm more than happy to come back. I'm more than happy to talk to you, or more than happy to talk to anybody that might be bending your ear on questions or issues.
All right, thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick on this item?
Just a quick comment. Great presentation. And I especially like how you looked directly at me when you were talking about the additional 2.7 miles of trails. I appreciate the motivation.
All right. Nick, thank you for the report. Thank you for your team efforts here in Burke County and as well as throughout the whole region. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept Nick's report as presented.
All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item number 4, presentations. This is a finance presentation for fiscal year 22-23 audit. This will be presented by Margaret Pierce, our finance director, along with Loudermilk Church and Company. And Margaret, if you will be so kind as to introduce those gentlemen as well.
Yes, sir. We have here today Phil Church and Rick Hammer from our audit firm. They're going to go over a few highlights they put into the board packet and then answer any questions you may have on the report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good to be with you this evening. I'm going to make a few general comments regarding the year June 30th, 2023 audit. Then I want to turn it over to Rick Hammer, who actually did the day-to-day field work. And we will be going over highlights. This is a quite large, lengthy, complicated report, so it would take a lot of time to go over that. But we are going to do the highlights, and I think they're up here already. So, but the audit went very well. Appreciate everything from Miss Margaret Pierce. She does a great job. She actually wrote this report, and you don't have a lot of people that are able to write this report. It's very lengthy, very complicated. Most people don't understand how complicated governmental accounting is. I'm sure Mr. Epley does, because he's been involved with it. So, but we did, the audit went well. We did give you a clean, unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements. And you also had what we call an A133 audit because of the level of your funding, where you have to do a lot of compliance work to see that you used the money correctly, and was there any findings? We had no findings. We did give you an unmodified opinion on that part also, on the A1, on all the funds that you received. The highlights, as I go along, if you have any questions, stop us, we'll try to answer it, but the highlights are produced on the modified accrual basis. It's the way we did it, which is the way you budget. It's not on the what we call the GASB 34 basis, which is a full accrual basis like a business would be. This is the way you budget, and that's the way we did the highlights, okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Rick. Anything else I need to mention about that, Rick? I'm going to turn it over to Rick and let him go over the highlights with you. If you have a question, stop us. We'll try to answer it. If we can't answer it, then Ms. Pierce might have to help us out a little bit. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the highlight sheet for June 30, 23. You can see it's comparative, so we give you both the years just so you get an idea of the change. The top portion is your general fund or your main operating fund of the county. You can see at June 30 you had cash and investments of about $38 million. And total assets was $43,894,000. The unassigned fund balance, this is the part that's available for use at June 30, and the general fund was $31,588,409. As far as revenues, the general fund took in just under $97 million during the year and spent out about $96 million. And then there were also some transfers and other financing sources and uses. They netted out to a use of $1,652,060. So for the year ending June 30, you had a decrease in the fund balance of $709,775 in the general fund. As far as taxes, the ad valorem taxes, the current year levy collection was $53,996,056, and that was about 98.8% of the total levy for last year. And then the last number in that top section is the investment income with the investments you had and the rates going up and such. You can see there was about $1,135,000 in investment earnings in the general fund last year. The next section is your proprietary funds or your water, sewer, and waste funds combined. Cash and investments in that fund was about $5.9 million at the end of June, and the total assets was $25.5 million. And then the equity or the net position of that fund at the end of June was $17,335,134. As far as operating revenues, it was about $7.9 million in operating revenues last year. And then your operating expense was just over $9 million. And in that fund, you had some non-operating revenues, about $80,000 that added in there. And then the transfers in, mostly from the general fund, was $3,573,000. So all those items combined gave you an increase in your net position in the proprietary funds of $2,503,542. A couple other items, your accounts receivable that were included in the asset number above, June 30 was $643,948. And then in that fund, in those funds, you had about $119,000 in investment income last year. The last section are all your other governmental funds that aren't included in your general fund. We just combine all those together just to give you an idea of some more information there on those funds. Cash and investments was about $62 million in those funds combined, and the total assets was about $66.5 million. And the fund balances of all those funds combined was $60,868,796. Revenues in those funds was about $36.4 million, and expenditures was about $11.5 million. And then you had some some financing uses of about $2 million in those funds combined. So you had a big increase in those fund balances of about $22,970,000 last year. The second sheet is the fund balance available percentage. A few years ago, I know we got into this, so we just sort of carried this forward from year to year. This is all just general fund, your operating funds. You had unassigned fund balance at the end of June, as I mentioned earlier, was $31,588,409. Your expenditures and transfers out were about $117 million, almost $118 million. So you have an unassigned fund balance percentage at the end of June was 26.8%. And then the last number there just was a benchmark, just sort of the counties in your population group. The average for the state the prior year was 45.74%. Just gives you an idea there of how you stand with the other counties in your group. I'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has anything on these or anything in the report. I know you've had the report for a couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hammer. Any questions for Rick on this side?
Say, if you get to looking at this report later and you have a question, give us a call. We're glad to meet with you one-on-one and try to answer it.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to accept the report as presented.
All those in favor signify by the uplifted hands. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just end with a comment, just to thank our county staff and our administration, in particular our finance department, for a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you again, gentlemen. Margaret, thank you for your work as well. This brings us to item number 8, scheduled public hearings tonight. At this time, I'll open the floor for our public hearing. Madam Clerk, anyone to speak tonight?
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 speakers that have pre-registered tonight to speak. I would call Mr. Luke Harrell to the podium.
All right, as you come forward, please state your name and address, and I'll remind you that we have a 3-minute time to make your comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Luke Harrell. I put down the address 2124 US 70 West. That is my grandparents' house and our farm. And I wanted to speak about the mega site that was wanting to be rezoned, especially the part on the Highway 70 side going toward Lake James. The reason that I want to speak about this is because it butts up right behind our farm and a lot of folks that I grew up with behind their house and in my home church. Whenever something like this comes in, it kind of like ruins the scenery of everything. Whenever you drive down Highway 70 and you're wanting to go to the lake, however many people go to the lake every year, they're wanting to look at the fields and the crops and the farmers, what they're putting out. Now, I'm not saying that growth is bad, because you need growth to be able to move in society. But whenever you're putting more and more structures like this on the side of Highway 70, let's say, for instance, on Exit 98 on Cosby Road, you have so many sites that haven't been developed yet. That there's already industrial spots there that are having a good business, but some of the spots haven't been completely fulfilled yet. Why wouldn't you look at that before you would look at a whole new spot and spend so much more money that a taxpayer would have to pay for in the long run? Which I understand that you would want to buy up that land for the growth of the county, which is understandable. However, if you've already bought previous land and it is not being fulfilled to its potential, why would you move on to a next thing? That's my question behind that. Another thing is the waterways and everything that Mr. Wood was talking about. I understand that people want to say, yeah, this is not going to affect anything like that, meaning the lake or waterways for people's wells or anything like that. You have to say something like that to persuade someone to agree to what you're going to want to bring forward. But I'm not saying that he's lying about it. I'm not saying anybody's lying, but I know people do, just to persuade somebody to agree to something. That's my take on that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harrell.
Appreciate it.
Madam Clerk?
Cindy Proctor?
So I'm also a concerned landowner in the area, and I totally agree with what Luke had to say. I'm not quite sure why it's open to question, and BDI, the representative, left and is not here to answer questions. I'm just going to tell you, this feels a lot like the zoning meeting, which there are plenty of folks that were here, and we were given no opportunity to voice our concerns and were abruptly asked to leave this very building. I'm looking for answers. When he's talking about he has had multiple interest from multiple corporations, who are they? Who are they? And why is, my biggest question is, why has this whole thing happened completely under the radar? I happen to get a letter from zoning, but I can tell you the vast majority of landowners around that site still have no idea that this is even proposed. And Greater Morganton, who could potentially be affected by the water supply if a company comes in and this is done irresponsibly, the entire town of Morganton could be affected. And I know that you guys would probably beg to differ, but there is example after example after example. Michigan is one. They have exercised eminent domain to take people's property. The public deserves to know what's going on, and that has not been afforded to the public. I saw one minor article. There has been no coverage. That's my question. Why has this been kept from the public?
Thank you, Ms. Proctor. Let me just comment here and just remind everybody, this is a public comment period that we're not prepared to answer questions. And again, remind all of you that over the next coming weeks, we will be hosting meetings so the questions can be answered and we can be better prepared for that as well. So next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Miss Betty Ballou.
Okay, I'm terrible at this, so forgive me. My name is Betty Ballou. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing me today. I'd like to speak about the Great Meadows mega site as well. First of all, I agree with County Manager Brian Epley and Commissioner Scott Mulvey, is that how you pronounce your name? That we do need to have more voices of our citizens heard. It saddens me that Mr. Wood chose to leave this meeting without hearing these concerns as well. I grew up in this area, and my farm has been in my family since the early 1800s. Many of my neighbors have also had their family roots here, stayed here, grown their crops, and raised their family in a safe environment, and enjoy a peaceful way of living, and to have the freedom of living their lives without interferences of big city life. Those who have moved to this place did so for that exact reason, to find nature's playground. I myself lived in South Florida for 26 years, and yet there is no place like home. Now that I have moved back to the state and I'm a tax-paying citizen and a law-abiding citizen, I'm faced with the fact that me and my neighbors may lose their way of life and have molested lands in return, and for what? I urge you to consider not only the positive implications of a mega site would have, but also the negative consequences as well. Let's try to remember to keep the citizens and our land safe and continue to have this county known as nature's playground. Because that's really what it is, and that's what we should be promoting more instead of these mega sites where we don't know the knowns. And to not include the community and the landowners, it's unfair. It's unfair and it needs to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Privet.
Joanna Kinch.
Hi, my name's Joanna Kinch. I'm from Lake James. We moved here 13 years ago. I think I talked to you. And we are shocked at what is being proposed on this mega site. I mean, we don't really know what's going to be proposed on it, but I've heard a lot of mixed words on if it's commercial, if it's industrial zoning. I talked to, Mr. Upley sent me a nice note to try to clarify. Mr. Woods was focusing more on a commercial section, and the property that they're talking about is supposed to be rezoned as industrial. Is that correct? All industrial. They're talking about that, like half of it, 500 acres, is already zoned commercial. But in my book, from what I know, and I'm not prepared to debate industrial and commercial, but in my mind, and from what I've read, commercial is an Ingles or a market or a pet clinic. But industrial is manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, production, high generator of hazardous waste. It could be easily affecting the groundwater, the area, this pristine, beautiful area that we live in. We moved here in order, like the others have said, to be in nature's playground. This is a beautiful area, and why put a mega site, an eyesore, right off the 70 freeway heading towards the lake, which both Burke County and McDowell County residents are, I mean, that's their getaway place. That's their go-to location. Why would you guys even consider something like this? And I'm echoing what everybody else has said. They've pushed it under the rug. They've hidden it from the residents. They've hidden it from the adjacent landowners and kicked us out of the meeting a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. If it's just from a financial standpoint, I mean, you said you've had a phase 1 environmental report. We know all about that. We come from a concrete jungle in California. We know what they've done with those studies. They turn them whichever way you want. A phase 1 is nothing. It just tells you if the area is clean to do whatever type of building you want to do. And of course it's clean. It's pristine, beautiful, untouched land and development and trees and forestry and animals. And sure enough, if you put another Carbon City storage or Carbon City facility, that's an industrial waste generator. That's going to impact the groundwater. There could be one spill, one significant spill could ruin the lake, the river, your drinking water. I mean, these poor people with their wells adjacent to, it's absurd. And nobody knows what it's going to be, but I think it's all about the money, and it really troubles us. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Kinch.
Danny Kinch.
Thank you. My name is Danny Kinch. I live in Nebo, Burke County, Lake James. I know that lady well. She's awesome. She actually used to be Economic Development and Environmental Studies for LA County in California. So I think she knows of what she speaks. We investigated the entire country 13 years ago to find a beautiful place to move our family and move our small business. Extensive study for 2 years all over the country, and we decided on Morganton, North Carolina. The reason why is because of the environment, because of the atmosphere, because of the lifestyle, because of this beautiful little town because of Lake James and the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background, because of the rivers and the biking and the hiking. Joanna Kench was exactly right. We lived in mega sites. We were in Southern California. It's a concrete jungle. We saw what happened to that our beautiful area and our beautiful state in California. So we moved our family here, we moved our small business. I didn't need a mega site to start my small business, by the way. I rehabbed an existing warehouse to bring my business and my high paying, way over the county average employees that we hired here. So jobs can be done without destroying the environment. Jobs can be created. Jobs are available right now. It amazes me. Timken's hiring. Continental's hiring. Everybody needs workers. Where are all these workers going to come to this mega site? We already have jobs available. Lake James and this whole area is your and mine and everybody's in here, our most valuable, important asset. And I think we need to keep that in mind. I'm worried because it sounds like the train's already on the track going down the tracks. It sounds like you've already made a decision and you're investing all this money in studies. And, I hope you haven't made up your minds. I hope this is just an idea that you're investigating. But the more I hear about this, the more I hear about this train is already on its way. And I think that's unfortunate that you didn't take input from those of us. I consider myself a native now. I don't want to even consider California. And I love this place. And I don't want to see go the route that so many other places have. And I do want to find out who your investment guy is, by the way, because your investments were awesome on that sheet, just as a side note. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kinch.
That's all the cards I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. This will end our public comment period, and
I'm sorry, you did, Ryan. I thought you had decided not to speak. Yes, we got one more, Ryan.
Mr. Commissioner, Chairman, thank you guys for having us here tonight, and thank you for your ear. I would also like to speak about the Burke County megasite as well. When you hear the word megasite and 1,353 acres at the foot of Lake James State Park, Peace National Forest, it gives you more questions than you have answers. It almost sounds like an oxymoron. And I would mirror the sentiment that, that Luke said and that the other homeowners have said as well, landowners. I'm not from here. I can't choose where I'm from, but I can choose where I live. And I'll tell you what, my children will grow up here. I have 4 children, and this means a lot to us. And I live just off of Powerhouse Road up on Lake James. And I moved here for the same reasons that, the last couple that spoke. It's nature's playground. I'm not going to give you my spiel on that, but what I will say is this. When Mr. Wood talks about grading, that's going to happen planned in April or May, and we all know that the zoning meeting isn't until March 28th. It almost does sound like the train's on the track. And I'd say that the issue isn't the mega site. The issue is the optics. And I think what would do us all well in this democracy is if we had what Mr. Epley mentioned, and Mr. Wood said something about it as well. Community forums, just input. You hear that, and you think, the Catawba River. You think the Muddy Creek, and you get worried about those things, and that's why you have a ton of negative feedback. And there's many people who don't know about this, and I don't want it to blow out of control. What I want is answers. I want to work collaboratively with you guys to understand what the goal is. And it may not even be you guys. It may be Mr. Wood, but he's not here to address the question. So what I would say is, if Mr. Woods is sincere about this, right, and I believe Mr. Epley is sincere about this because he and I have spoken, I would say let's take it a step further, right? You guys are our stewards. You are representing us, right? We voted y'all. I'm happy. You guys have done an amazing job. That's why I moved here. What we need to do is get a little bit more than just an informational meeting. I think the optics are this is all going on behind the scenes, right? Let's get a community, like a subcommittee. Let's get some citizens involved. If we can get the answers, then maybe the fear isn't there, and then maybe you get some community involvement. If not, it's just going to be outrage. And I just think the misunderstanding is going to create miscommunication. And what I do, mismanage expectations are the crux of success and failure. And I just think if we can do that, you'll get some properly managed expectation and hopefully some good community involvement and some progress towards getting a good solution, if any. Personally, I'd rather not have anything there, but it's not up to me. There's many, many citizens in Burke County, roughly 90,000. So if 51% want this, then I think we should do it. But I think we need to know what the people want and what they're okay with and get the fear away to have a positive discussion. So I thank you guys for your time, and I hope that's what we can do.
Madam Clerk? All right. With that, I'll close the public hearing, or the public comment period, rather, and we'll move on to item number 10, consent agenda. And I'll ask our county manager, Mr. Epley, to review these consent agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I cover the consent agenda, just with your permission, I just want to clarify the grading that Mr. Wood talked about is for a Drexel site, totally different. There is no grading plan. Ron and I had a great conversation yesterday, about 40 minutes, but that is not for Great Meadows in any way. There's an industrial park in Drexel that's about 100 acres. It's been, all of that due diligence has already been done, and that's where that's being planned in the town of Drexel. So, wanted to clear up that bit of misconfusion, but we did have a good conversation yesterday, so I appreciate you coming and speaking. So, Commissioners, several items for consideration, so bear with me as I walk through a fairly lengthy consent agenda. The first one is your Board of Commissioner commission appointments for 2024. Those are included in your packet. Obviously, we're covered in pre-agenda for review, consideration, and approval. Item 2 is your annual resolution establishing your meeting schedule for 2024. Item 3 for consideration is also your annual adoption of your board rules of procedure. Several appointments for consideration. Item 4 for the adult care nursing home. We have an appointment to C2 to fulfill an unfulfilled term. Item 5 is an appointment consideration removal, and appointment for the Council on Aging. Item 6 is reappointments to our EMS peer review committee. All of those are existing members. Item 7, again, reappointments to the Board of Health. Those positions and recommendations are in your packet. Item 8 is consideration for budget amendment number 5 on the year. These are 2 public safety grants. One is a JAG grant. One is an emergency management capacity grant. They total $206,435. There is no local match with those. Item 9 is a signatory card from our finance department to allow check signatures for our inmate trust account. Item 10 is consideration for the quarter end September 30, 2023 financial report for Partners Behavioral. Item 11 is your monthly tax report for release and refund for November 2023. And item 12 for consideration is the collection report for tax department November 2023. Mr. Chairman, that concludes your consent. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, and we went over all these items in detail here in our pre-agenda meeting. Are there any questions on this item?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item number 11, items for decision. We have a number of items to consider tonight. The first one is from the clerk, appointment or reappointment to the Burke County Board of Equalization and Review, and the speaker presented by Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have 3 applicants for 2 seats on the Board of ENR. Seat number 3 is for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026, and seat number 5 also has that same term, and I believe those are both at-large seats. You have Kevin Ferris, Mary Hatley. Both of those are the current member, and we have an application on file in your packet as well from Danny Eisenhower.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. So, gentlemen, at this time, I'll focus on seat number 3. You see there the 3 applicants that we have before you. I would entertain a nominee for seat number 3 to the Board of E&R.
Mr. Chairman, I move to reappoint Kevin Ferris to the Burke County Board of Equalization and Review for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other nominations for seat number 3? Hearing no other nominations, I'll close the floor for nominations and entertain motion to accept Kevin Ferris as the seat number 3. Hereby, Mr. Burns, motion. All those in favor signify by that lifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Seat number 3 will be filled by Kevin Ferris. This brings us to seat number 5. And I'll open the floor again for nominations for seat number 5.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint Mary Hatley to the Burke County Board of Equalization and Review for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell. Any other nominations for seat number 5? Hearing none, I'll close the nominations and entertain a vote. All those in favor of Mary Hatley for seat number 5, please indicate by that lifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, this will now bring us to item number 2, appointments or reappointments to the Library Board of Trustees. And again, I will recognize Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You should have a revised agenda abstract at your seats. We have 2 seats that need an appointment. Seat number 5 represents the city of Valdez city resident. We have 2 applications on file that meet that criteria. Tiffany Cooper, who is the current member of the Library Board of Trustees, and Sandy Holman, who is also a Valdez city resident. And seat number 9 is an at-large seat, and we have 2 applicants, Janice Bravely and Locke Hoffman. But since it's at large, I suppose you could consider any of the Valdez city applicants as well. The term for seat number 5 is a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023, and is the same term for seat number 9.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With that, gentlemen, we'll hear first focus on seat number 5, representing the city of Valdez or Valdez town. We have 2 applicants. Current member Tiffany Cooper and applicant Sandy Holman. Do I hear a nomination for this seat?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint Tiffany Cooper to the Library Board of Trustees, seat number 5, for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell. Any other nominations for seat number 5? Seeing here none, I'll close nominations for seat number 5, and all those in favor of accepting Tiffany Cooper for that seat, please signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Now we'll move to seat number 9. And for there we have 2 applicants, and I suppose we can also hear applicant Sandy Holman for this seat as well, since it is an at-large seat. So, gentlemen, you have Sandy Holman, Janice Gravely, or Locke Hoffman as applicants for this seat. I would entertain a motion or nomination for seat number 9.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Sandy Holman and Library Board of Trustees, seat number 9, for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other nominations for this seat? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close nominations. All those in favor of Sandy Holman for seat number 9. Please indicate by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. All right, thank you. This brings us to item number 3, appointments or reappointments to the or to the Tourism Development Authority, rather. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to make an appointment and some reappointments and designate a member to serve as chair for the TDA for 2024. The terms of Rebecca Randolph, seat 1, collector of occupancy taxes for hotel motels. Rob Winkler, seat number 2, representing Morganton. Marissa Angie, seat number 3, representing Valdez. Dana Wisnett, seat number 5, travel tourism at large. And Mike Watts, seat 7, also travel and tourism at large. Their terms end December 31st, and the term is for 2 years. For seat number 1, you have 2 applicants on file, one from Mandy Nix and one from Deborah Perry. And then the second motion is to reappoint Rob Winkler, Marissa Angie, Dana Wisnett, and Mike Watts to the TDA for 2-year terms ending December 31st, 2025. And the third motion would be, for your consideration, is to consider reappointment of Commissioner Scott Mulvey as chair of the TDA for 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, first we'll deal with seat number 1 to the TDA board. Have 2 candidates, 2 nominees there, applicants, Mandy Nix or Deborah Perry. Open the floor for nominations at this time for seat number 1.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Deborah Perry to TDA seat number 1 for a 2-year term ending December 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other nominations for seat number 1? Seeing here none, I'll close nominations, and all those in favor of accepting Deborah Perry as our representative on seat number 1, please indicate by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, second motion to reappoint Rob Winkler to the TDA seat number 2, reappoint Marissa Angie to TDA seat number 3, reappoint Dana Wisnett to TDA seat number 5, and reappoint Mike Watts to TDA seat number 7 for 2-year term ending December 31, 2025.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Next matter to decide is the reappointment of Commissioner Mulvey as chair of the TDA for 2024. Hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to reappoint Commissioner Scott Mulvey as chair of the TDA for 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, this brings us to item number 4, clerk appointments and reappointments to the Veterans Service Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a request to make some appointments and reappointments to the Veteran Service Board, which is a 5-member board, all at-large members that have an honorable service record. Appointments are needed to replace Larry Britt, seat number 1, and Forrest Early, seat number 2, who did not seek reappointments. The reappointments of David Tubergen, seat number 3, and Edwin Ware, seat number 4, are requested to complete the unexpired terms ending September 30th, 2025. We also need to appoint someone for seat number 5, who was occupied by Kenneth Knight until his passing this past July. The unexpired term for this seat ends September 30th, 2026. And we have several motions for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, we'll consider seat number 1 first, and I'll remind you have 4 applicants for that seat, and these are all at-large seats, so we'll begin with seat number 1, and I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, I move to remove the names of Larry Britt, Forrest Early, and Kenneth Knight from the official roster of the Veteran Service Board, and thank them for their service country into the county and Burke County, and to appoint Gary Jennings to seat number 1 on the Veteran Service Board to complete a term ending September 30th, 2026.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any other nominations for seat number 1? Hearing and seeing none, we'll vote on that motion to remove those names as indicated and appoint Gary Jennings to seat number 1. All those in favor indicate by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0, Madam Clerk. We'll now fill seat number 2 on the Veteran Service Board. Again, leaving 3 applicants. I'll open the floor for nominations for seat number 2.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint James Gribble to seat number 2 on the Veteran Service Board to complete a term ending September 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell. Any other nominations for seat number 2?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Brian Barrier.
All right, we have a nomination also for Brian Barrier for seat number 2. Any other nominations for seat number 2? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a vote at this time. All those in favor of James Gribble, please indicate by the uplifted hand. And those in favor of Brian Barrier? Madam Clerk, that's 4-1 in favor of James Gribble. All right. We'll now move to seat number 5 on the Veteran Service Board. That leaves 2 applicants, Mr. Barrier and Mr. Hildebrand. For this seat, do I hear a nomination for seat number 5?
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Brian Barrier for seat number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other nominations for seat number 5?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Curtis Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell. That gives us 2 nominations for seat number 5. All those in favor of Brian Barrier for seat number 5 indicate by the uplifted hand. Those in favor of Curtis Hildebrand indicate by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that'll be 3 in favor of Curtis Hildebrand, 2 to Brian Barrier. So Curtis Hildebrand will be appointed to seat number 5 of the Veterans Service Board. All right. Did I get all that, Madam Clerk?
We need to reappoint David Tabergen and Edwin Ware, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, we need a motion to, or I'll entertain a motion to reappoint David.
Mr. Chairman, I move to reappoint David Tabergen to seat number 3 and Edwin Ware to seat number 4 on the Veteran Service Board to complete the remainder of the terms ending September 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell. All those in favor of that motion indicate by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Now did I get all that?
I think we did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Lots of appointments tonight. This brings us to item number 12, reports and comments. This time I'll open the floor to receive reports and comments from the board and professional staff. We'll start way over yonder with Ms. Pierce.
Nothing to report tonight, just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
Nothing to report from me tonight. Merry Christmas as well.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
Ditto.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Same for me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. I would like to thank everybody for my good first year. I appreciate all of you. It's good to work with the staff and all of you commissioners. I wish the people of Burke County a very Merry Christmas, a safe and healthy one, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Burks.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. I wanted to let the board know that last week in a meeting I was elected to serve as the vice chairman of the Western Piedmont Council of Governments Executive Committee for a term to 2 years. And we will have I'm also chairing the Public Education Steering Committee for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and we have rounded out our agenda for our January 19th meeting. I look forward to seeing some of you guys there, and I look forward to seeing all the committee members from around the state. And I kind of especially wanted to mention that because it goes directly to the heart of the comments that were made earlier about the internship training. Our guest will be Ms. Kim Case and a couple of her colleagues from Raleigh to to talk about the My Future NC initiative and the apprenticeship programs as they're growing across the state. I want to end with Merry Christmas to everybody, and there's a reason we celebrate, and I just want everybody to be happy, healthy, and safe, and look forward to seeing you all back next year.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns, and congratulations to your appointments in other areas. And let me extend our appreciation on behalf of the board for your willingness to serve in these other extracurricular activities that do take up time and effort, and we thank you for that service. Mr. Vice Chair.
I just echo my fellow commissioners' comments. Just have a happy, safe holiday, and we'll see you next year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing I want to say is congratulations to you and Scott on your appointments as Chair and Vice Chair. Look forward to some great leadership in the year coming up. Thank you, Randy, for all the work you're doing with the NCACC. Phil, thank you for all the work that you do. I just want to say that I'm happy to be here tonight. I want a special thank you to our Burke County EMS during my little episode last week. They just did a fantastic job. I'm just thankful to God that I'm able to attend here tonight. So Christmas is special. We'll be attending, Mr. Chairman, a meeting in Washington, D.C. next month, and again in February. I'll be meeting with our representatives from the Senate and the House of Representatives to bring forth some issues that affect the state in general, and then some issues that affect Burke County. I look forward to that meeting. Kevin Linder and I will be leaving to go on that meeting, like I say, again next month. So glad my dog's home. And again, I thank our folks at Animal Services for helping find him. My heart is full. My Christmas season, I love it. I just love Christmas. I just want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, and as has been said, remember that Christ is the reason for why we say Merry Christmas. Thank every one of you for being here and taking part in this meeting tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Carswell, and let me also thank you for your service to our state association. I know it's a lot of work, and you take care of that handily, and we do appreciate all your efforts to represent Burke County and all of North Carolina at the association. And with that, I too want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I hope that you have a very safe holiday season and enjoy your time with family and friends. And so let me give you several courtesy reminders. December 23rd, 4th, and 5th, our convenience sites and landfill will be closed for Christmas. And then December 25th through 27th, our county offices are closed for Christmas. January 1st, our county offices are closed for New Year's Day. January 2nd, our Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting at 3 p.m. Let me remind you to spay and neuter your pets. We'd love for you to foster or adopt a pet at our Animal Services Center. Cover your loads when you're heading out to the convenience centers and the landfill. And please don't litter and pick up your trash. Mr. Manager, we did have some brief discussion about maybe moving our pre-agenda meeting. Did we decide to leave that be?
That's our recommendation, certainly up to the board, but yeah, after looking at the calendar, we proposed leaving it on as scheduled Tuesday.
Okay, everybody good with Tuesday as scheduled? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. At this time, Madam Clerk, we'll hear vacancy announcements. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the audience. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be engaged in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ, Council on Aging, Burke County Board of Health, Hickory Regional Planning Commission, and the Drexel Planning Board for the ETJ alternate.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We do not have a need for a closed session tonight, so that brings us to the item we've been looking for about an hour and a half. The adjournment.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor of adjournment, signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. Again, I wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.